Republican consultant John Thomas, Democratic strategist Dave Jacobson. I like to call them our two wise men. Good to have you with us on this night. Got some results coming in. Let's start with Dixville Notch. A win there for John Kasich, who actually, the only candidate to actually go to Dixville Notch.
That also helps, yes. That'll do it.
But it was still a squeaker, though. Casey, he went there and he Trump by one.
He got the 3 votes, he claimed victory, but what is it worth? I mean, what's a win worth?
It's far too early right now to really...
No kidding.
I mean,
really?
People pay me big dollars to tell them that.
Exactly.
But the truth is, the question we're going to watch is, can Trump be the comeback kid? Can he win, but not just win, but can he win big in New Hampshire? And then we got a 4-way scrum between the top other tier candidates, you know, Bush, Kasich, Rubio, hopefully coming back from a debate. That's what his team's hoping. And Christie, can he come back? That's what we're going to watch.
Dave, your thoughts on the Democratic side? Sanders getting 4 no votes for Hillary Clinton.
Hey, well, that was the Dixville Notch. Come on. She's everywhere.
Let's wrap up Dixville Notch, though. I mean, your thoughts there, though.
Right. I mean, clearly it's anecdotal, right? But somewhat symbolic, right? We're going to see a big victory tonight, most likely at least, by Bernie Sanders. The question is he going to win by double digits? Can Clinton sort of eat into his lead? It's largely going to be an expectations game at this point. You know, if he wins by double digits, there's going to be an argument for him to go on, him to run sort of this national campaign and this long, drawn-out battle that could go all the way out to California. If she's starting to eat into his lead, then it's going to raise questions about his viability.
The Clinton campaign's already starting to show signs of imploding, though. Today, we just saw that Clinton said she's going to have, if she doesn't show well here, she's going to have major staff shakeups as she goes into the
Well, actually, she didn't say that. We're going to get to that in a minute. That's a little disingenuous. Okay, now you brought up Donald Trump. He had a campaign rally a couple of hours ago. It was in Manchester, and there was this exchange between Donald Trump and a supporter. We'll play you the highlights and cover your ears.
You heard the other night at debate, they asked Ted Cruz, serious question, well, what do you think of waterboarding? Is it okay? And honestly, I thought he'd say absolutely, and he didn't. He said, well, it's, you know, he's concerned about the answer, because some people, she just said a terrible thing. You know what she said? Shout it out, because I don't want to... Okay, you're not allowed to say, and I never expect to hear that from you again. She said, I never expect to hear that from you again. She said he's a That's her.
Okay, so tomorrow Donald Trump will say he was just talking about baby cats. But is this the kind of, you know, is this the sort of thing that, you know, people want to see from a man who would be president? I mean, where's the line?
Where's the decorum?
You make a good point, but bizarrely, that's what his supporters love. It's that raw, unvarnished honesty that comes with him. He calls it like he sees it.
That's not a case of honesty.
But he calls it like he sees it.
Didn't he drop the F-bomb the other day?
Yeah, and the S-bomb.
I mean, I don't understand. I mean, I hear people say that it's about his honesty, but that's just repeating the profane. That is not about...
It is vulgar, but that's what his audience wants to hear, and we're talking about him now. He's breaking through the news cycle in an important moment.
You know, I just think that there were kids in that crowd, and
John, you make a good point, but see, the trouble Donald Trump has had, he had this in Iowa, is that Ted Cruz has mirrored Donald Trump on almost all of his positions. So if he can draw a contrast and say, actually, you know what, I'm going to waterboard, you're going to carpet bomb, but I'm going to one-up you, and that's what he's trying to do tonight.
I think it's just worrying about where it's taking the discourse, the political discourse in the United States. I think that's the bigger issue. I'm talking on the Democratic side about, in fact, before we get there, I want to talk about the back and forth between Donald Trump and Jeb Bush today, because that is noteworthy. It has seemed a little bit like a cage match on the final day ahead of vote, just jabs flying everywhere. Donald Trump, Jeb Bush, such insults. I want to, play a little bit of the back and forth for our viewers and get you to respond.
He's like a child. He's like a spoiled child. He spent $110 million on a campaign, and he's nowhere.
Okay, so, there was a lot of smack talking from Trump, but, he was responding to Bush, who tweeted this out: "You aren't just a loser, you are a liar and a whiner." Also said John McCain is a war hero over and out. Why is Trump continuing to go after Jeb Bush? He's on 7%. Isn't he punching down at this point?
You're right, but Donald Trump can't resist but attacking his attackers. He just can't. And Jeb Bush put out the bait. Donald Trump's taking it. If you're Jeb Bush, you're loving this in this moment.
Well, and I think second place, third place is sort of up for grabs right now in New Hampshire. And if Jeb Bush is able to consolidate some of that establishment support and have a strong performance, sort of pull off the Marco Rubio of what Marco did in Iowa with the lower expectations, it could propel him to South Carolina with some momentum. And there are talks that he's going to have his brother, President George Bush, campaign for him there, so that could bode well for him.
And we saw, just as poll as recent as yesterday, over 40% of the Republican electorate in New Hampshire say they're undecided.
Yeah, which is a big issue.
There's still a lot of people.
Okay, on to Hillary Clinton now. You brought this up. You said that she's going to fire everyone, which is not true.
I didn't say everyone, but I did say a shakeup.
This is what she said. Let's listen to the actual statement from Secretary Clinton.
We're going to take stock, but it's going to be the campaign that I've got. I'm very confident in the people that I have. I'm very committed to them. They're committed to doing the best we can. We're going to take stock. What works, what doesn't work. We're moving into a different phase of the campaign. We're moving into a more diverse electorate, moving into different geographic areas.
Okay, she's going to take stock, but clearly you don't take stock when you're winning. So things are not happy in Hillary land
She's
right
moving
now.
into a different phase called panic mode. That's what she's moving into right now.
Right. Well, now we're seeing national polls where she's only up by 2 points, right?
Yeah.
So it's clearly a big problem for her. And look, I mean, we heard this talk 8 years ago, right before New Hampshire, when everyone thought she was going to lose. Barack Obama was leading by double digits in New Hampshire, but then obviously she prevailed and she pivoted away from that narrative.
But the question has to be again: is it about the campaign, or is it about her? I mean, essentially, what's the problem?
Well, I think David Axelrod, her former advisor, summed it up perfectly in his tweet where he said, you know, sometimes it's not the staff that's the issue, it might be the candidate, and that's the problem she may have.
Well, we're going to ask the question: if she doesn't do well in this vote in New Hampshire, if the margin of defeat is as great as some fear, do we think this will be the moment for Michael Bloomberg to tip his hat in? Because we know he's already said he's looking at this race. I mean, what are your expectations?
Well, and there's also the argument of Joe Biden or an Al Gore revisiting
or
this,
Elizabeth Warren.
Right. I mean, if she doesn't look electable, if she can't beat the Democratic Socialists in these early states, the national Democrats who are part of the establishment are going to start to pivot around and look for someone else.
Do you really think there is a lane for Michael Bloomberg? Can he run a successful independent campaign? Or is there a path for the anti-gun, anti-big gulp, anti-trans fat, anti-styrofoam candidate in this race?
Right. I think the issue is that America is increasingly becoming more and more polarized, right? We're seeing the Democratic Socialists with Bernie Sanders on the left. You've got the Ted Cruzes, the Donald Trumps, the insurgent outsiders on the right. You know, there's an argument to be made that someone could sort of come up the middle and appeal to those Ohio, Florida, Pennsylvania moderate voters who are looking for someone to get stuff done.
If Bloomberg runs, everybody can assure the presidency go to the Republican nominee.
Yeah, he takes from Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders. Guys, good to see you both.
Always
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we will continue with our coverage of all the primary results coming out of New Hampshire because we're still yet